a sous vide meal prep tip. Make some sous vide ribeye from frozen or fresh. You could really get them in bulk and make a bunch of ribeye sous vide style frozen, because you just have to add an hour on to the cook time. So today I'm going to take you in the kitchen and I'm going to show you start to finish how to do everything from season to sous vide ribeye from frozen or fresh. Let's get in the kitchen and do it. So preheat the sous vide machine to anywhere between 132 to 134 degrees. For medium rare, I did about 134 for this recipe, and it was absolutely perfect. And while the sous vide bath preheats, season ribeye with salt. That's really all you need, but you could add some other spices if you wanted. And then vacuum seal the sous vide ribeye steak or add it to a Ziploc bag. And another one of my sous vide meal prep tips is to cook ribeye from frozen, and you could freeze it at this point. So you could cook it fresh if it's fresh, or you could buy frozen like mail order ribeye and package that frozen and then sous vide it right then. So sous videing ribeye from frozen, it will take you about 3.5 hours, or you could sous vide for 2.5 hours if cooking thawed or fresh. Now you could really just cook sous vide ribeye in 1 hour if it's fresh, not if it's frozen, but I find that 2.5 hours is my favorite these days, and you'll find a lot of my sous vide recipes are using about 2.5 hours for a sous vide steak these days. So once the frozen ribeye cooks sous vide style, remove the bag from the hot water, and it's optional, but you could shock the steak in an ice water bath to stop the cooking process. Sometimes I do, but sometimes I'm just a busy toddler mom and I don't have time before getting dinner on the table. So remove steak from the bag and pat the ribeye steak dry to remove extra moisture, which will actually help create an even sear when you go to finish it in a cast iron skillet or on the grill. For this demonstration, I'm going to show you how to finish sous vide steak on the cast iron skillet right in your own kitchen. So what I'm doing here is a fancy technique called a mayo sear technique. So you smear mayonnaise on sous vide cooked steak, and then you can add some additional salt or pepper. Here I just use some extra smoked pepper. And you heat a cast iron skillet to medium high on the stove, and you sear ribeye on each side. And do not forget to sear those edges. You have to include those edges when you're searing it for a few minutes until a brown crust forms. And it's going to be so delicious, but you want it to go really quickly on a really hot pan, so you're just getting that nice seared edge and not cooking the inside any further. So then you transfer the steak when it's done searing to a cutting board and rest for at least 10 minutes before serving. And I always like to serve with fresh herbs. I'm pretty obsessed with my arrow garden. I love having fresh herbs on hand. You can check out some other videos on Sip Bite Go for the arrow garden. But anyways, I just sprinkle some fresh parsley or any other herbs I have in my kitchen at that time on top. Well, I'm really excited for you to try this sous vide ribeye steak. Cooking sous vide steak from frozen will seem like magic, but it really is just a little nerdy science thing, and just adding on the extra hour in the sous vide jacuzzi, or the sous vide bath as it's called, will cook it completely. So that's one of my favorite ways to do sous vide meal prep. You can check out some of my other tips at Sip Bite Go and on the Sip Bite Go YouTube channel. Creamy sous vide little potatoes are one of the best sous vide side dishes for parties and events and sous vide steak dinners. I actually was featured making this exact recipe for Oregon Home Magazine a couple months ago, and today I'm sharing with you the step-by-step way to make these in your own home. Join me at sipbitego.com and on the Sip Bite Go YouTube channel to get the step-by-step recipe and video. Hey home chefs, don't forget to grab a copy of my free sous vide beginner's recipe ebook. If you think sous vide steak is delicious, wait till you try sous vide lobster, wings, corn, and more. It's like a mini preview of my popular print book, The Home Chef Sous Vide Cookbook, which is available on Amazon and has over 100 sous vide cooking recipes. I can't wait for you to check out some of my favorite dishes in this book. To get your free copy, go to freesousvidebook.com. Again, that's freesousvidebook.com. Well, until next time, don't forget to check out another one of my sous vide recipe videos or another simple recipe video here at Sip Bite Go. I have a lot of really good things from pizzas to sauces for you to check out. And until next time, I hope you have a wonderful and delicious day. Cheers!